If you've been eating less, trying harder, and still watching your waistline grow, there's a good chance the problem isn't just body weight, it's visceral fat. And that matters, because visceral fat is not the same as the fat you can pinch under your skin. Visceral fat is the deeper fat that builds up around your organs, inside your abdomen, and it's one of the most metabolically dangerous forms of fat you can carry. It's linked to fatigue, insulin resistance, inflammation, high blood sugar, elevated triglycerides, higher blood pressure, poor metabolic health, and a much harder time losing weight. So if you feel like your body is working against you, if your energy is lower than it used to be, if your belly is getting bigger even though your habits don't seem that different, this may be the real reason. But here's the good news. Visceral fat is also one of the most responsive types of fat. In other words, when you do the right things, your body can start reducing it faster than most people realize. Hi, I'm Dr. Sophie Hale, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the most effective protocol to burn visceral fat fast, not with crash dieting, not with detox teas, not with extreme workouts that leave you exhausted and hungry. I'm talking about a science-based approach that helps your body lower insulin, improve metabolic flexibility, protect muscle, and start using stored abdominal fat for fuel. Now before I give you the protocol, we need to clear up one important misunderstanding. Most people think belly fat comes from one simple problem, eating too many calories. And yes, calories matter, but visceral fat is more specific than that. It is strongly influenced by hormones, by insulin, by inflammation, by sleep, by stress, by muscle activity, and by the quality and timing of what you eat.
That means two people can eat the same number of calories and get very different results depending on how their metabolism is functioning.
And that also means this: if you want to lose visceral fat quickly, the answer is not just eating less. The answer is creating the internal conditions that tell your body it is safe and appropriate to burn that deep abdominal fat. That's what this protocol does. So let's start with the first principle. The fastest way to start burning visceral fat is to lower the constant demand for insulin. Insulin is a storage hormone. When insulin stays elevated all day long because of frequent snacking, sugary drinks, refined carbs, and oversized meals, your body stays in storage mode. And when your body stays in storage mode, it becomes very difficult to access fat, especially the stubborn fat building up around your midsection. So step 1 of this protocol is to create a clean eating window. That means you stop grazing, you stop eating all day long, and you give your body long, predictable stretches of time when insulin can come down. For most people, the simplest version is a 12-hour overnight fast to start, finish dinner, and then don't eat again until breakfast the next morning. If dinner ends at 7:30, breakfast happens at 7:30 or later. That alone can help. But if your goal is to reduce visceral fat faster, many people do well moving toward a 14-hour or even 16-hour fasting window a few days a week, as long as it feels sustainable and doesn't trigger rebound overeating later.
Now, I want to be clear. Fasting is not magic. It works because it creates time for insulin to fall, and when insulin falls, your body gets better access to stored energy. That's the key. And here's where people go wrong. They fast for 16 hours, then break the fast with a pastry, a sweet coffee drink, or a giant ultra-processed meal
that spikes insulin, drives hunger, and cancels out the advantage they just created. So if you're going to use fasting, you have to pair it with the second step.
Step 2 is to build every meal around protein, fiber, and volume.
If you want to lose visceral fat quickly, you need meals that control hunger, preserve muscle, stabilize blood sugar, and reduce overeating without making you feel deprived. That means your meals need a structure. Start with protein. Protein is one of the most powerful tools for fat loss because it is filling, it supports muscle mass, and it has a higher thermic effect than carbs or fat. Your body uses more energy digesting and processing it. Then add fiber. Fiber slows digestion, improves satiety, supports gut health, and helps flatten blood sugar swings. Then add volume. Big salads, cooked vegetables, broth-based soups, beans, lentils, berries, Greek yogurt, eggs, fish, tofu, chicken, cottage cheese, edamame, and high-fiber whole foods help you feel like you actually ate. This matters because the biggest mistake in fat loss is creating a plan that works on paper but fails in real life. If you're constantly hungry, you won't stay with it. A visceral fat-burning meal is not tiny, it is strategic. Think of a lunch like grilled salmon over a large salad with chickpeas, olive oil, lemon and pumpkin seeds, or Greek yogurt with berries, chia seeds and walnuts, or eggs with sautéed vegetables and avocado, or a protein-rich bean bowl with greens, quinoa, and a simple dressing. Notice what's missing. liquid calories, sugary sauces, refined snack foods, desserts disguised as breakfast. The goal is not perfection. The goal is lowering the foods that keep insulin high and hunger unstable. Now step 3 is where fat loss starts to accelerate. Walk after you eat. This is one of the most overlooked and powerful tools for reducing visceral fat and improving blood sugar control. When you walk after a meal, your muscles start using glucose. That means less glucose remains circulating in your bloodstream, and your body may not need as much insulin to deal with the meal. Even a 10-minute walk after lunch and dinner can make a meaningful difference. That's important, because high insulin and poor glucose control are part of what feed visceral fat accumulation in the first place. You do not need to turn every walk into a workout. This is not about intensity. This is about consistency and timing. A brisk walk after a meal is like telling your metabolism, use this fuel now, don't store it. And if you do that every day, meal after meal, week after week, the effect adds up. Now let's take this further, because walking is powerful, but it's not enough by itself if you want the most effective protocol. Step 4 is resistance training. If walking helps you use fuel in the moment, resistance training changes your metabolism over time. Muscle is one of your greatest allies in reducing visceral fat. The more metabolically active lean mass you maintain, the better your body handles glucose, the more resilient your metabolism becomes, and the easier it is to avoid regain. You do not need bodybuilding workouts. You do not need to spend 2 hours in the gym, but you do need to challenge your muscles consistently. 2 to 4 sessions per week is a strong starting point. Squats, lunges, rows, presses, deadlift patterns, step-ups, resistance bands, dumbbells, bodyweight training. The exact method matters less than the principle. Your muscles need a reason to stay. Because here's what often happens when people try to lose weight fast. They undereat, they do too much cardio, they lose some weight, but part of what they lose is muscle. And when muscle goes down, their long-term metabolic health gets worse. That is not the goal. The goal is to shrink the dangerous fat, while keeping the tissue that protects you. That's why the fastest smart approach is not eat as little as possible. It's create a deficit while defending muscle. And that brings me to step 5. Which is where many people unknowingly sabotage their progress. Sleep. If you are sleeping 5 hours a night, living on caffeine, and waking up stressed, your body is getting signals that make visceral fat loss harder. Poor sleep can increase hunger hormones, reduce insulin sensitivity, worsen cravings, impair decision-making, and elevate cortisol. And cortisol is especially relevant here, because chronic stress and elevated stress signaling are strongly associated with central fat gain in many people. So if your goal is to burn visceral fat fast, you have to stop thinking of sleep as optional recovery. Sleep is metabolic regulation. Aim for a consistent sleep schedule, reduce late-night eating, dim bright light at night, keep your room cool and dark, and if possible, get outside for natural light soon after waking up. That morning light helps anchor your circadian rhythm, which improves sleep quality later. This isn't glamorous, but it works. Now here's step 6, and this is one of the biggest levers of all. Eliminate the foods and drinks that most aggressively drive visceral fat storage.
The number 1 on that list is sugary beverages.
Soda, sweetened coffee drinks, energy drinks, juices that act like sugar delivery systems, sweet tea, and all the healthy drinks that are packed with added sugar. These are incredibly easy to overconsume because they don't fill you up the way real food does. Liquid sugar is one of the easiest ways to overshoot your energy needs while keeping insulin elevated and hunger poorly regulated. Number 2 is ultra-processed snack food. Chips, pastries, candy bars, sweet cereal, packaged desserts, and the engineered foods that combine refined starch, sugar, fat, and salt in a way that makes stopping difficult. These foods are designed to be hyper-palatable. They make it easy to eat past fullness. They also tend to displace protein, fiber, and micronutrients that would better support fat loss. And number 3 is the cheat meal mentality. You cannot spend 5 days trying to reduce visceral fat and then erase the entire week with a weekend of binge eating, alcohol, desserts, and oversized restaurant meals. Which brings me to alcohol. If visceral fat is your target, alcohol deserves special attention. Many people underestimate how powerfully it can interfere with fat loss. It can lower inhibitions, increase appetite, disrupt sleep, contribute significant extra calories, and shift the body's metabolic priorities. If you want faster results, reducing alcohol is one of the highest yield changes you can make. The most effective visceral fat protocol is not the most extreme one. It's the one your body gets exposed to over and over again. A good day helps, a good week helps more. But real change happens when the same metabolic signals keep showing up. Longer overnight fasting window. Protein-centered meals, high fiber, minimal liquid sugar, walking after meals, resistance training several times a week, earlier sleep, lower alcohol, fewer ultra-processed foods. When your body experiences those signals consistently, it adapts. Insulin sensitivity often improves. Inflammation can come down, appetite becomes more predictable, energy gets steadier, and the deep abdominal fat that once seemed immovable can begin to shrink. Now I want to talk about how fast is realistic, because that matters too. People here burn visceral fat fast, and assume that means losing as much weight as possible in the shortest amount of time. That's not the right way to think about it. Fast, in a medically meaningful sense, means you are improving the biology that drives visceral fat storage right away. It means your blood sugar control starts improving. It means your waist circumference starts trending down. It means you feel less puffy, less hungry, less sluggish. It means your body is moving in the right direction quickly, even before massive scale changes happen. And yes, for many people visceral fat does respond earlier than they expect when the plan is targeted. Now let me give you a simple example of what this protocol can look like in real life. You finish dinner by 7 p.m. no nighttime snacking. You sleep 7 to 8 hours. In the morning you hydrate and delay breakfast if that feels natural, or you eat a high-protein breakfast instead of a sugary one. Lunch is built around protein and fiber. After lunch you walk for 10 minutes. Later in the day, you do a strength workout or get more movement in. Dinner is satisfying but controlled, again centered on protein, vegetables and whole food carbs if you include them. After dinner, another walk, no soda, minimal alcohol, no mindless snacking in front of screens. Nothing there is extreme, but together, it is incredibly effective.
That's the point I really want you to hear. Visceral fat is not usually beaten by one miracle food, one supplement, one detox, one ab exercise, or one punishing bootcamp session.
It is beaten by a coordinated metabolic strategy. Now, are there supportive extras? Yes. Adequate protein intake matters. Fiber matters. Omega-3 rich foods can be helpful for overall metabolic health. Fermented foods and gut-friendly whole foods may support better regulation in some people. Strength plus walking is an excellent combination, and if your doctor recommends further evaluation because of blood sugar, lipids, blood pressure, fatty liver risk, or sleep apnea symptoms, that matters too. Because sometimes stubborn visceral fat is a clue that there's a deeper metabolic issue that deserves attention.
But for most people, the foundation still looks the same. Lower insulin exposure, protect muscle, move after meals, sleep better, reduce ultra-processed foods. Make your eating pattern more intentional. That is the protocol. And before we finish, let me tell you the 3 biggest mistakes people make when trying to lose belly fat fast. The first mistake is chasing sweat instead of results. People think if a workout leaves them drenched, it must be melting fat. But you cannot out-exercise a pattern of poor sleep, high liquid sugar, constant snacking, and inadequate protein. The second mistake is starving during the day and overeating at night. That pattern often drives hunger, poor choices, and a bigger insulin load when the day is ending. And the third mistake is focusing only on the scale. Visceral fat reduction often shows up first in the waistline, in better energy, in improved blood sugar responses, in less afternoon crashing, and in reduced bloating. The scale matters, but it's not the only signal. So if you want a better question than how do I lose weight fast, here it is. How do I create the conditions that make my body let go of visceral fat? That question leads to better answers. Your body is not broken, your metabolism is not lazy, and your belly fat is not just bad luck. Your body responds to signals. If you give it the signal of constant insulin, poor sleep, low muscle activity, chronic stress, and ultra-processed food, it will store. If you give it the signal of stable meals, more movement, stronger muscles, better sleep, and fewer metabolic disruptors, it can change. And often it can change faster than you think.
I'm Dr. Sophie Hale, and if you're ready to reduce visceral fat, improve your metabolic health, and get your energy back, start with the protocol we covered today. Keep it simple, keep it consistent, and let your body do what it was designed to do when you finally give it the right conditions.